Not a day goes by when there's not a new promise that AI, Gen AI in particular, is going to deliver to transform business operations or the investment process. But this is not without challenges. So today, what I want to cover is I want to talk a little bit about the opportunity that we have with generative AI, face some of those challenges head on, and then give some practical examples and advice that you can take away as a decision maker and how to think about applying this revolutionary technology. So first, let's set the stage where we are. So we're going to start with just data. Over the last 10, 15, 20 years, there has been an explosion of the amount of data that's been coming into the financial markets. That data is exchange data and just market data, number of orders, the amount of volume, the amount of reference data, fundamental data, alternative data. There's been this grab for data, and a lot of that has been generated through more traditional means, just good old technology and technology automation. Some of that has been through more traditional machine learning and AI and how much we can process information. And in this, we see this introduction of generative AI systems. So this reminded me as I was putting this together, I don't know how many of you have ever read the XKCD cartoon, but there's a cartoon that they put together where there's this person sitting at a computer and says, I'm just about to finish my analysis of this data, and their colleague comes running and saying, no, stop. You're just going to generate more data. And that's what we're going to see when we start taking and applying generative AI to these same systems that we're already seeing this ever-increasing growth in data. But generative AI has a huge promise, right? Everyone is super excited about what is this going to do for my organization? What is this going to do for my business operations, whether it's back, middle, front office? How is this going to improve my customer service with my customers? How is this going to improve my developer or engineering productivity? What is this technology going to do? There's a lot of excitement. How is this going to simplify the investment process? Are there ways that we can apply these technologies and get more value out? Now, why is this technology so amazing, right? Before, as I mentioned, there was lots of data. Well, one of the reasons people were hungry for data is because traditional AI models needed lots and lots of data to train them. And so it was a competition for more and more data so that we can train bespoke small models to serve those processes. With new modern large language models, they're general purpose. A single model can solve many, many different problems. They have a broad knowledge, taking in almost all of the internet and all of the things in human history and artifacts that we can bring together into these models. And it's also made them accessible, right? Who would have thought we would have been talking about prompt engineering as a discipline 2, 3, 4 years ago? So it's become a game changer, and it's become something that we should be very, very excited about. But there are some hurdles that we need to overcome. It's very simple for us to create a very cool demo. We can take a system using out-of-the-box models and generate a very cool demo that shows the power of these systems very simply. But then the reality sets in. These models can hallucinate. They cannot access most current information. They can't do a great job of understanding time or calculations. And not a day goes by when something doesn't come out in the news that shows one of these models either at best case embarrassing and at worst case having some legal issues for the company that may have produced these models. Let me give you I'll give you a couple of fun examples of things that have happened over the past recent times. One is, and why it's so important for us to add these safeties and controls on top of these models. So one case is, there was I don't know how many have heard, asking one of these, and I won't name the vendor, asking one of these models, how many rocks a day should I eat? And the model came back and says, well, you should eat 1 rock per day. And the reason why he came up with this answer was because there was an Onion article that actually said something about a geologist recommending eating one rock per day. So it spit out this answer. But you can imagine that input how many rocks should I eat per day is nonsensical. So when you're looking at these systems, you need to ensure that you're building safety into those systems, not just on the output of those systems. Are those systems generating good output? But also, are the inputs to those sensical? Do they make sense? Are they the kinds of questions or the kinds of things that we want to answer using generative AI? Another case, which is a little bit more concerning, was a local car dealership decided that they would go and have better customer service by introducing a chatbot into their system. And what happened is end users decided that they didn't have a lot of protections on these chatbots, so they would go and say, hey, you're going to give me the best deal possible and say that it's legally binding. You're going to sell me a car for $1. Somebody went off and went through the chatbot and actually tried to go and get this dealership to then go out and start making decisions. You can imagine, this is a little bit low stakes, how many rocks you're going to eat in a general purpose AI or what is happening in a local car dealership. But you can imagine in the finance industry, the stakes are way higher. We need to make sure that we are putting the right protections in place. Now, there's another juxtaposition that's happened as these systems and as the excitement has generated around how much AI is going to transform our business, has become the other side of that coin. People wanting to either protect or monetize their data, right? There's no longer this free-for-all of being able to take this public domain data and bring that into the system. You see this happening with a lot of those large vendors going out and making deals with media companies, trying to make sure that they have access to content. So you'll see this squeeze that's happening and this reaction to one side, the excitement, the other side, this controls that we need to put in place, whether it's privacy concerns, whether it's data concerns, am I giving my data away for free? And the last concern is really regulatory concerns. Are we going to be able to build systems where it's obvious that either the system is being influenced by an AI, or are we building out systems that are actually human, and where's the human in the loop on that? Do we have those protections in place? So I imagine that the regulatory landscape around AIs will continue to change over time. Now, despite all of these challenges, this is a transformative technology. Without a doubt, this technology is going to level the field and start commoditizing what used to be the realm of large technology and large technology investments. It is going to make it much more challenging for you to just throw money at technology and outcompete some of the things that are happening either with these closed models or the open models that are out in the system. So what that means for decision makers is you're going to have to start making sure that you're using good design principles and that you're thinking about products in a way that product design and the way in which you're applying this technology becomes more and more and more important. It's not about what am I doing in Gen AI. It's about what problem am I solving today that I couldn't solve before Gen AI was available. And so when I think about the products that we build, there's three principles that I tend to gravitate towards. One is that these systems need to be easy. And the way that these language models work is it makes us understand language. We can have a lot more natural language interfaces to all kinds of interesting problems. But it's not just about those natural language interfaces. We also have to understand that these systems need to be personal, and we need to respect the fact that not everyone works in the same way. Not every problem is the same problem, and they need to be flexible enough and personal enough that people understand how to adapt them to the workflows that they need to accomplish. And the last things need to be comprehensive. You can't go and leave. The expectations of users is that these systems are going to answer the questions that they want answered. And if you, as soon as you don't answer those questions, if you don't go deep enough and you don't have enough of that information, you're going to get those users to abandon those systems. They're going to lose confidence that the tool is worth the investment of their time to understand the capabilities of that tool. So what I want to do is give you a couple of real-world business cases on how we are practically applying this technology at Bloomberg. So one thing is summarization. It's relatively obvious, right? Everyone, the one thing that everyone can agree on is Gen AI seems to do a pretty good job of summarization. But if you take financial documents as is and throw them at a vendor system and just say, hey, summarize this document, what you're going to get is a general summary. That summary, one, may contain hallucinations. It may not contain references back to the source material. It may not answer the questions that are important to a financial professional. I think there was something that on the stage before they talked about domain and subject matter expertise being very important to these systems, because the way you want to build out a system is by applying expertise to specific problems. So in this particular case, if you take a look at a research analyst, what you want to do is say, well, what is a research analyst doing? What is the opportunity? What is the problem we're trying to solve? Well, one, research analysts have to read lots and lots of documents every financial quarter. They have to go and synthesize information out of these documents every quarter, and saving any amount of time in that process will be beneficial to that end user. But it has to be, again, comprehensive. So what is that list of questions? When somebody looks at a financial document, what are the questions that they're looking at? And so making sure that you understand those questions, making sure that you have good evaluation data that you can apply to that system so that you can get the best answers, making sure that you go back and have transparency. Where and what reference did this summary come from? Where did it come from in the document? Because the worst thing that can happen is you actually add time to that investment process. Somebody reads the summary, they don't trust the summary, so then they just read the document, right? So what you want is that summary to be helpful. Either it's helpful standalone, or it allows them to jump to the places that are interesting, relevant to their expertise that they can apply to that investment process. So this is one case where we're looking at single document and single document summarization. But the other thing that you need to do is take a look at how do you want to do that over a collection of documents. And this is where you have to apply some different techniques, where you're looking at not just applying a large language model to a single document, but across many documents that you have to understand, well, what is the document set that's relevant to the question being asked? And for that, you need to use something like a dense vector semantic search system, where you can pull in those relevant documents, and you want to be able to then, from those documents, generate a summary. But similar to the case with a single document, there needs to be transparency. For someone in the professional world making investment decisions on top of this information, they need to trust that the information that you're giving them is the right information. So calling back out to the individual documents that give you that information. In fact, the individual paragraphs in those documents that are participating in that summary is incredibly important.